he would have only, and he had 7.
Gotcha.
So depending on uh, who got hit with the diplomacy card or the pistol,
Right.
uh, we could have had a 3-way tie, or
Or clean top two.
yes.
Who? Wait, so he lost one other? Did he lose to you or Mateo?
Um, I believe he lost to Teo, I
Gotcha.
think.
Yeah, I think it might have been Teo, and then there was a surprise upset against another fencer that he learned to, take seriously. And it, in all fairness, he's a very fair player, but he let his mind slip, and he didn't execute when he needed to against another fencer that it was surprising that they won against him. So good on that fencer for being able to execute.
Yeah, fair enough.
Any given day.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely. Yeah. Barbara and I were just talking about that. As she's coming up, Faye, my wife, as she's coming up, she's starting to grapple with the idea of like doing well in tournaments and the pressure that comes with that, and like the idea of, I don't know, like disappointing people. And I was reminding her that like, any expectation that I have of like, oh, I think this person's going to do well in this tournament is caveated with that any given day.
The
Yeah, the deeper I
pantheon
get
of the
into a
mature.
tournament, the deeper I do get into a tournament, I start repeating the mantra to myself, this fight.
Yeah,
Because you don't want to think about the crowd, you don't want to think about
yeah.
anything else but this moment.
I like the that bit of the song from Rent that goes, "There's only us, there's only this." Um,
All right. We are live, chat, and welcome in for those who are joining both on YouTube and on Twitch. Hello, hello. I'll be adjusting audio as we go. Tonight we're going to be going over the most recent QC from Aethelmarc. Looks like it happened in when was it? Which weekend? It's fairly recent.
it was just about a week ago.
Yeah, last weekend.
All right, last weekend. So this is fresh off of the footage train. We get to see. So I've watched none of this. I don't know any of the spoilers. So I'm excited to see how the tournament progresses and people's takes on the fighting. Would you all like to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, I'll go first. I'm Robert. Many of y'all know me. I'm a fencer from Aethelmarc, and I am one of our current vigilants for the Order of Defense. I was not in
Exciting.
this tournament.
Next, Marcus, Poe, either of you.
Sure, I'll go next. Hi, I'm Marcus. I'm from Aethelmarc as well. I am the previous Queen's Rapier championship, our champion. So I had the honor of working with Her Majesty to come up with a format for this. I'm a Master of Defense. Been that for about a little over a year and a half now. That's me.
Very cool. And Poe, what about yourself?
Well, okay, I'm Master Poe, another mod from Ethelmark. I was merely one of Marcus's victims in the tourney. I've been a Master Defense for mumble 6 years.
Can't be
Very
too long.
cool.
It's only been around for 10.
I wasn't one of the early ones, thank goddess.
Not the early days. All right. So the footage that we have is this. You want to tell us about the tournament format before we actually dive into it? That'd be a good context to start with.
Sure, I'd love to. So we have this one's a little bit different than normal. Normally, each time the format can change for the Aethelmarc Queen's Rapier, and it's a discussion between Her Majesty and her current Queen's Rapier champion. And for this one, I wanted to promote things along the lines of the Courtier. So not just prowess, but diplomacy and yeah, luck, and in addition to that, a little bit of making sure you didn't double kill. So some of the rules when we did the procession, Her Majesty had the option after the procession to choose one fencer to receive a gun-shaped object. And said gun-shaped object had one use, and if it was used in the first round robins, then the person who used it had 3 wins immediately against their foe. And in addition to that, during the initial round robins, if you did not double kill with your opponent, you were given a poker card. And at the end of that, when we got to our top 8, the individual who had the highest hand, who did not advance, was allowed to challenge one of the top 8 and take their spot if such happened. So I was shocked at how low the amount of double kills were for this tournament. It was a joy to see, and the diplomacy, or the individual who got the diplomacy, I believe his name was Gideon, and he just did an excellent job. Some people, were very braggy about how they killed and they're killers and all this other stuff, but he went with humor, and Her Majesty really liked that. So she awarded him with the hairy object that he got to keep. That actually I was received by Viscount Drew Silas gave it to me during my elevation. So really good to see.
Very cool. What was the overall format? Was it like double limb, round robin pools into a top 8, top 16, that sort of thing?
Everyone fought everyone in a round robin for the top 8. And then it was, I believe it was the best, and all of these were 2 out of 3 because I feel that promotes skill over luck when we have single elim and things along those lines.
Gotcha.
So everybody got to fight everyone. And then after that, once we got to the top 8, it was again the best 2 out of 3,
What?
all the way up.
How many total entrants were there, roughly?
There were 4 lists, so about we had 37 total entrants for this one. So it's a little lighter than our last one, but in that corner of the kingdom, it's a little less populated, so it's a little bit more of a drive. But it's good to move the championship around the kingdom, so folks like Poe, who drives all over Aethelmarc, gets a chance to drive a little bit less far.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one took place in, what is that, like the northeast part of Aethelmarc? Is that right?
Yeah,
Yes, that's
Owego, New York.
the Dominion of Merkfalen.
It's like where Cornell is, like Ithaca, New York, right?
Exactly.
So,
Yeah, quite a ways for us, for me and Marcus. That's why I didn't end up going to this one.
Yeah, it's about a 6-hour drive if you've got a heavy foot.
Oh,
uh,
you poor, poor people.
it sounds like so you had those 4 lists with roughly 9 to 10 per list doing round robins to eventually get your top
That's
8.
correct. Mhm.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. Robert, what are we watching? What's the order, and if there's any particular reasoning for the order of events?
So I've got footage from top 8, and I've got the finals as well.
Cool.
I wasn't there, so I don't know too much about the order of the footage. So I figured we'd go through all of the top 8 and then hit the finals at the end.
Do we have specific combatants that we wanted to pull in and discuss their fights or anything like that, or is it more kind of like watch and the 4 of us kind of give our thoughts on the fight?
Yeah,
For
I don't know
the
if any of the combatants. Poe, of course, was one of the combatants. I don't know if any of the other ones were able to make it tonight.
yeah. I was kind of curious.
Yeah, yeah. I figured we would watch through and just take a look, chat about it.
Let's do it.
Hell yeah! All right, so this one getting us started. We have Poe on the left here, and one of our white scarves, Ragnar, on the right. Like,
Was
kill
this
shot to the
one?
body.
Was this one list larger, or is it just larger for the final 8?
Looks like a
For the
double.
final 8, we had 4 lists to start, and then we opened them up to 2
The
total
2.
lists,
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
so
Yeah.
double the size.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. I was gonna say
they're
the
wider than or longer than they are wide here.
the original list size can kind of like be guessed at, and it's relatively speaking a fairly small list.
Hmm.
Nice pick.
Poe, I notice you've got a really open guard here. Do you worry too much about folks stabbing you in the hand?
No, I tend to allow them to shoot for the hand because, Honestly, it's the old Bruce Wayne. I'm going to put the really big bat signal on my chest in hopes of drawing their fire right there.
Yeah.
You know, I very rarely get somebody who actually gets through the guard, uh, but I know to keep that wrist moving, and quite often it gives me that bind on the upper key. And
Hmm.
Ragnar and I play a very very similar game. We want to contest for the center line straight through. Because we're opposite sides of the kingdom, we don't get a chance to fight very frequently.
Yeah.
But we're both literally trying to pick each other apart, and it's an arm here, a leg there.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Cool. Um, looks. I just want to see that one. Looks like got you on the timing here.
Yeah.
Now, one thing you might not notice while watching these videos is the ground was a little bit wet. We were concerned for most of the
Hmm.
day that it would continue raining. So the lunges were a little bit less often than you'd see normally because people
Okay,
were a little bit concerned about their footing.
that's pretty good
I was
context.
wondering. It seems like in the bits of fights that I've watched so far, it looks like people are lining up closer than I would expect. But with that context, that makes a lot of sense.
I really wanted to get into my more comfortable Fabrice stand,
Mm.
but I really, because of in a number of these fights, you won't see it, but we're actually still fencing in a very light mist. I kept
Yeah.
hoping they'd move this indoors, to be quite honest.
And
I
the indoors was great, but the lighting was not. So it was a choice of being able to see well or being able to move a little bit better.
Yeah.
mhm.
So tough trade-off.
So
Oops.
that fight, that three passes with Ragnar were the passes that took me out of the final eight.
Hmm.
Okay.
That was my final match. The other match that I told Robert I would not mind taking a look at would
Oh
be
yeah.
my second match, which was me and Don Ryan, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Ryan is this side of the kingdom, and therefore we fence each other far more frequently.
Nice. Yeah,
And
that's what I got here.
um, and Don Ryan is the premier of the White Scarf Order, I believe, in
Yes, he
yeah,
is
in
White
East
Scarf
Kingdom,
Alpha.
or
Yep,
That's
or
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't get to fight him often. He's up in Doffswood, right?
he is Deltwood. Yes, I think he's actually taller than Boomy.
Well, I'm 6'4". Uh,
Yeah, I think Ryan may have you by an inch or two.
there you go.
To be quite honest, I leg him 2 out of 3, or maybe even all 3 of the matches, and that's only because I know he wants to come over the blade. I'm throwing a constant parry over the head and
Hmm.
trying to disengage and come across his belly, which I can usually do with people. And because of his height, that draw cut across the belly is instead coming across the mid thigh. So I leg him 3 times.
Hmm.
I was surprised that he showed up with his dagger. Usually for QRC, he goes really flashy. Ryan may be the premier cloak fighter in Aethelmarc.
Oh, cool.
Would you say dagger is a weaker form for this person?
I don't think it's weaker. I think he just wanted to go. I normally expect him at QRC to go with the cloak only because he wants to play for the crown.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right,
Um,
right.
both of us are theatrical people. You'll notice that this is really, I think, one of the few pairings where we decided we were going to fight across the thin side of the list field because we both wanted to play and allow the queen to see the fight. So
Right.
we're both playing to the crown here.
This parry here, you just knock the sword out of his hand.
Does
So
the
impressive.
so in Ethelmark, does Queen's rapier, like, does QC give an, like, I suppose, an, like, a similar to like a rose tournament at golf or Penzik, where it's more about the honor and enjoyment of the consorts or audience over necessarily the prowess or victory, or are they equally weighted? I don't know how it, like, the cultural vibe is
Her
for folks participant.
Majesty Her Majesty is not obligated to take the finishing fencer. although that happens more often than not. She can decide to take any of the finalists. I've seen Her Majesty at least once or twice take somebody as far down as third or fourth because she thought they played a cleaner or nicer game. Uh, I
Yeah, there's a
mean,
controversial one a few years back where both finalists, like the finals were just a mess, and the
so
third place got picked.
2019, I'll tell that story only because I feature in it. In 2019, I finished third numerically. And then the first and second place fencers went on to have what may have been the ugliest 11 passes to
11.
11 passes to determine a best of 5.
Oh my lord.
And Her Majesty at that time decided to choose neither of the two finishing fencers, and I found myself unexpectedly offered the champion's regalia, and that was right before COVID hit, and I ended
Yeah.
up hosting the regalia ensemble for 2.5 years.
Oh my gosh.
And
Wild.
the
Yeah,
long
in
term.
response to your question there, Bumi,
Yeah.
I kind of feel the fencers are going to bring their A game for that day,
Hmm.
for the most part. But courtesy, honor, definitely playing up to, the entire chivalric ideals that you might have while in this tournament are exceptionally important, because you're going to be representing the honor of Her Majesty as her champion.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Do
That's
y'all have
there's like a
go ahead.
difference culturally between kingdoms as to whether it is like it is more important to bring the prowess over like enjoyment to the crowd, and there's a balance there, right? Like different players and kingdoms tend to have cultural differences, like the anthropology of the kingdom.
In Atlantia, what's the kind of standard?
In Atlantia, Queen's Champion is not a very big thing. It's only happened a couple of times
Okay.
officially, like at all in
Huh.
my career of playing. So like the last 12 years or so, I think it's existed maybe twice. So it's just not a
Wild.
big thing here. Like for us
Yeah, definitely in
in
Apple
Ruby.
Market is the top level tournament that you can be in every reign. So people, prep for it, and it's a big deal for us. So that's
Right.
I
Yeah.
would
interesting, the differences.
I would I think Curacy generally is the top level, with the exception of, I would say, Garnet and Steel was a more competitive. I think Curacy and Aethelmarc struggles from like the fact that it is tied to a job essentially.
Right. Exactly.
Sometimes
Yeah.
people who have done it before like opt out of competing.
Right. I mean, that's one of the things I found is anything that's tied to a job tends to have at least some amount of folks who are dissuaded from. I mean, just like Crown.
Yeah, yeah,
Crown is tied to a
100%.
job. And
Although
yeah, it just
I do have to say that it's not an onerous job.
It's not. It really is.
I mean, having I think you've got three different people here, all of whom have been Queen's champion, and I mean, there's a very nice cloak. There's some regalia, a medallion, and the swords. You basically stand with Her Majesty. You in court quite often. You answer her questions and advocate on behalf of the fencers. And on a normal Penzic war, the Queen's champion is usually offered one of the few Aethelmarc rapier slots in champions.
Yeah, that's how I did the two heroic champs that I did. Was
yeah,
I
the
was
champ
Curacy at
slots.
Pensick.
Yeah, I've done QC as the job once, and I've won twice over the years.
Gotcha.
But the Atlantia, the most recent one, the iteration, which happened a while ago, it had. I think the idea is that their Majesties will pick top out of the top 8, but the winner gets a champ slot. So they like divvied up
Ah, cool.
the
That's kind of
the
cool.
reward essentially.
Do you find, are there people who enter and explicitly don't want to become champion? Is that permitted?
The few times that the handful of times that it's happened, generally no. there's not like a drop round. People who enter acknowledge that they may do the job if they are the
Gotcha.
victor or chosen.
Nice.
So now the folks you have on this video right now are Maestro Urinder and Don Ragnar. Now, Urinder, I would argue, and I don't think it's a controversial opinion, is probably our best longsword fighter in the kingdom.
Oh, cool.
Certainly in the kingdom. Yeah,
Yeah, I would agree with that.
he's quite good with it. He's one of the few longsword fighters I find like competing with really high level rapier fighters. Which, spoiler alert, he's the one who wins this tournament.
Is the longsword looks relatively speaking smaller handled for sure, or they have giant hands.
Jorner specifically fights with longswords that are, I believe it's 10 inches or less handle.
Okay, yeah, that's not a lot.
Because then he's like skating around some annoying rules that maybe suggest you're not allowed to use it one-handed.
Oh, I see. So he's staying
Yeah.
within the I can use this like a rapier
Exactly.
rules to not have to argue about it.
Yep.
I get that.
Yeah, I will say the sword that he fights in tournaments with is on the longer side as longswords go. I think it's like a 42.
And hopefully we'll get to see it. He has another really gorgeous longsword that'll, if he pulls out, definitely it's nice.
Ragnar has picked up that longsword with the dagger a couple of times, and I feel like there should be like the second you have that tactile feel on your dagger, you immediately go.
I just lost the hand here.
Like you have
Let's see if I
two
can find
implements.
Yeah, if you can rush in. Yeah.
The moment any blade to blade happens, you close off that line hard and you go.
Yeah. You're doing a really good job of sniping the dagger out too, though.
Right. Like here in the second pass, right? That's 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I think if you step out and allow them to play with range, it's making the fight way too even, because then you're using your longer blade versus their longer blade.
Yeah, not taking advantage of the number of blades. Yeah, I agree.
Put the fear in, let them know that you can't. Like right there, the second you caught that inside parry, just run forward. Right, use your closer weapon.
I will say, so I practice with Jornder on a weekly basis. He's in the same group as I am, and I will say his inside game, his very close fighting, is very, very good. So it is not always as good a choice as it might seem.
Okay, that's fair. In my head, it's just you got two implements. Once two of your implements touch, bind up, and you have a free implement to do something with.
Yeah,
and I think that is quite often the case, but most people, I think, fail when they decide to counterpunch Jornder by letting him start the engagement. Even with the dagger advantage, allowing him to get in motion yields the bout.
Yeah.
If you're going to bring the dagger against Jornder, you really need to bring the fight and the engagement to him and close the line in that single tempo. Because if you let him start the engagement, he gets to deal the cards he wants.
Poe, did you want to fight? Or sorry, did you want to watch your fight with Genshin as well?
No, I got way into my own head against Genshin.
Okay.
This is the third QRC in a row that my first matchup in the second half was Genshin, and I just could not get out of the headspace.
Okay, so we've got a few more. Oh, we've got a few from Mateo. I want to watch Mateo's fights.
The Mateo fights were absolutely beautiful. I was lucky to have Mateo in my opening half pool, and those were just some beautiful fights.
He's on my bucket list of people I want to get to their practice. I've only gotten to fight him in one QRC, and that was the last one that I won a year ago. And he is such a joy to fight. He's the one on the right here.
Mateo's got a classic form. You can literally look and say, there's plate 7, there's plate 15.
Looks like a headshot. Do you know what style he fights?
Uh, it is mostly Capaferro,
Okay.
but every now and again, he sneaks in a little bit of, you know, like I think if this is the pass, I think he's about to throw. No, okay, not that one. And then I think it's the third one. I think he brings out a lunge and a grippa because he
Okay.
actually gets over the leading knee.
This is Mateo again on the left against Master Cyrus. Bringing out the cloak like we were talking about earlier.
Oh yes.
And Cyrus was really pleased with how well he did with the cloak. He didn't expect
Yeah,
to do as well as he did. So he's like, this was a great day. It's not his primary form, but he wanted to bring the cloak and he managed to advance. So kudos to him.
nice.
Yeah, cloak is hard in a lot of ways.
Boomy
Cyrus
in. Go ahead, Poe.
I was about to say Cyrus's advantage, even with not being a cloak fighter primarily, is Cyrus comes out left-handed, wielding the cloak right-handed. So now he's bringing his attack in from a vector most people are not used to.
Boomy, do you tend to see? Whoa. Looks like Cyrus got him on the retreat here. Nice. Boomy, do you tend to see things other than Sword and Dagger in the later rounds of tournaments in Atlantia, or is it mostly kind of consistent Sword and Dagger?
Pretty consistent sword and dagger. You'll see the occasional cloak, or if you're Dom, stick. There's a couple people who
Stick,
do
yep.
stick. There's a few people who buckler as their preference, but
Gotcha.
it's dominated by the sword dagger meta.
Hmm. Yeah, mostly us too, I'd say.
It's probably a similar ratio.
Hmm. I'm noticing Mateo taking refused guard a lot. It's interesting to see.
Yeah, the dagger leg forward.
Hmm.
I think that may be a result of working against a left-handed fencer.
Hmm.
Now, earlier you joked at my being one of the fossils. I have to tell you something. Teo Teo and Ryan both predate me. In fact, Teo was one of the marshals that, authorized me in Dagger way back
Oh my
when.
gosh.
That was 3 rule sets ago.
Nice grab
I
and
don't know
go.
quite. Yeah, for real. Yeah, this is what you were talking about earlier, Boomer.
Yeah.
Of more swords equals better.
Hmm. Yeah, you got 2 implements, but they both kill. Get into
Yep.
range. Make that trade. If you watch his initiation on how to bind, I personally do not like. This is for chat. If you watch their right hand as they try to bind, they do this. It's like a circular motion downward. If you can imagine, that's your tip travels like the corkscrew of a roller coaster in that particular action. I have learned that it is better to thrust your blade into that same downward parry. And so your tip is making way more of a straight line to the advantaged position. And those, you're saving fractions of a second, but in fencing time, it's a fairly long time. That's where you shave off that extra movement. I think they could have cleared. That might have been a difference between touching leg and clearing the blade in full.
And I think this is our last one before the finals. We got Mateo and Jornder.
Does Jormunder travel?
Travel
Yes,
where?
he does.
Yeah, he travels all over Aethelmarc.
Okay, I didn't know. I don't recognize him from War.
He doesn't do melee, and he doesn't do a ton of the tournaments. He ends up just like teaching a bunch of people longsword stuff most of the time at Pensick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there are a lot of
He's
folks here. So
also heavily involved in heraldry and service and
Yeah,
things along those lines,
Yeah,
so that definitely cuts into some of his time too.
got it.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like
he just
I don't recognize the style on like on the field.
he just finished a 3-year stint as the principal herald of Aethelmarc, which meant that for the past 3 Penzicks, he spent more time running opening and closing ceremonies and heralding court than actually hitting the fencing field.
Mm.
He's actually right now vigilant for Order of the Pelican because of these past 3 years. So
Oh, that's cool.
he's basically, to some extent, he's coming out of a 3-year homework assignment. Now he can start
All
working on
right,
his fencing more.
that's
Not
cool.
that he needs it. He's already a very strong fencer in the kingdom.
It is still possible to catch him unawares.
It's true. Yeah.
So now we don't see Teo very often on the western side of the kingdom, but I'd be interested to know if, specifically Poe, you're seeing more Eastern influences in his fighting style as he's doing these movements.
Well, kind of like Ryan, Mateo is not only a white scarf of Ethelmark, he is also an ogre of the East Kingdom.
Hmm.
Uh, his ogre predates Ethelmark as a kingdom, and he's moved back and forth over the border. He's practically on the border, just kind of like I am, but he's just farther north. He's also married to Dawn Alden, female fencer, male persona. Alden has been off of the field for about 5 or 6 years for health reasons, and that's one of the reasons Teo does not travel as far or as frequently. He is also kind of like your nerve. Mateo has just finished, I think it's a 3-year or a 2-year term as law speaker or seneschal of his region. So again, another high-level fencer who's keeping himself busy when he's not on the field.
Is Law Speaker what they call it in the Dominion of Merkphalin?
Yes,
That's
and
so funny.
I would I wouldn't want to derail the fencing, but hunt down anybody who knows the story of the creation of the Dominion of Merkphalin, and you'll have a really interesting 20-minute conversation, usually with alcohol.
Or
The,
for the folks that are curious, Merkphalin is like somewhere between a shire and a barony, but it's officially not a barony of Aethelmarc. It's officially called a dominion because someone
it's
pulled a fast one on the royalty about, what is it, 30 years ago?
longer than that because they pulled it on the East Kingdom before Ethelmark was a
Okay.
kingdom. They're the only dominion in the SCA because their original charter was submitted to the board in Old Norse, and the board accepted it without a translation.
That's fun. What I don't even know what the Dominion is like as an entity.
So the Dominion's original charter said, we fight for, and I forget the name of the Eastern king at that point in time. We fight for, let's call him Alex. We fight for King Alex. He's a nice guy. Um, and 6 months later, when Alex stepped down, the Dominion declared independence because they had sworn fealty to Alex. And it said that if Alex ever takes the Eastern throne again, the Dominion will go back. But that's never going to happen. And so they are an independent Dominion who just happens to be within our borders.
Interesting.
That's why the board of directors of the SCA now require a translation with a charter.
Functionally, though, they, for the most part, the folks that live there play with Aethelmarc as normal,
Yeah,
yeah?
and they do treat themselves as Ethelmark.
Okay.
However, they don't have a they're not considered one of the seven pearl baronies.
Yeah.
Most people do not wear their regalia, coronets, or what have you when they are there.
Huh.
Uh, they have a lot of fun with it. They really make it kind of like Rome, an independent state inside of Italy, a country. The
Right.
Dominion is very much its own creature.
Yeah. I also say that sounds like they're not subject to the normal rights and responsibilities that come with being a barony in the context of the
Exactly.
organization. Who we watching now?
All right, so we're on to the
Genshin.
finals. We got Genshin on the left, and Yorinder will peek out behind this marshal in a sec. Question for you, Marcus: is the dagger fight the first one?
It is. Her Majesty wanted something brutal to start off.
All right,
Was
let's
this
see it.
best of five?
Yeah,
Indeed.
five
Loser
rotating
chooses
ones.
form.
Did Genshin used to play and then they took a break and then came back?
Yeah, right. Yeah, he just started back up like maybe 2 years ago.
Okay, yeah. I remember them.
Yeah.
I remember them
I'm not
from
sure who
before.
took his
I think they
spots.
had a different name.
Yeah,
Yes.
Durante back in the day.
Okay.
I'm not sure who took that dagger fight.
You want to rewatch the
I'm
dagger fight
pretty sure it
slow?
was
That looked
Jordan.
like a
Yeah,
mess of
yeah,
daggers.
yeah. Let me get back to here.
Oh, that's a good replace. Did you see that? Reach out parry, replace the hand. That's slick.
Yeah,
Cover low with strength.
yeah.
Intercept
Doing it
high.
right.
Shove the hand back. Try to get the stab. Although it's good. It looks like it's a
Good
good
hand parry.
parry. There might have been blade of touch. I don't know how much power or like point they
Yeah,
had
it
on
looks like it was
that fight.
flat on the head too, though.
Exactly, like flat from the side, percussive at best.
Yeah,
That's what it looks like. Shoving from the outside into a hand is so good. Like in terms of positioning and leverage.
from Yorinder, like pushing onto
Yeah, just
Genshin's
pushing
dagger.
the dagger across the body. Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, Urinder and Genshin do get a chance to play a lot, and Urinder loves infighting because it
He
invariably
does.
involves giggling. So much giggling.
Yep. He's a goofy guy. There was a period of time where he and I were the only regulars at our practice for like about a year almost. And so he and I just did a ton of infighting. He's a big part of the reason that I'm good at that range. Looks like he lands the thrust to the face here.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And I think Genshin's dagger doesn't hit anything. Yeah.
Yeah. That's clean.
Dramatic hero landing.
Yeah. I was like, I didn't know why they went to knee in the at speed, but that makes sense.
Mhm. Yeah, like off balance, I think.
Is this one bring your rest again?
I think
Yes, this
loser
one,
chooses.
the loser would choose the forms and they should match. But these ones, I mean, obviously you want to make sure that you're being chivalric, and this is bring your A game.
Cool.
So
I like that.
Genshin chose Sword and Dagger. Is that right?
Yes, he would have been the one to choose that then.
Looks like that maybe did land.
Yeah, it looks like it landed before the cross parry, or maybe during the cross parry.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Right
Yeah.
on the mask. I saw the bend there. Urainer has this really interesting way of throwing shots where you can see his sword is like vertical there, and
Yep.
he kind of drops it down like he's serving like a platter almost.
From
It
Genshin's
does.
end, his sword was already there to parry. It didn't have to do very much. If it makes sense, the starting guard right here, it would just be the hand comes up and out slightly.
Genshin's sword.
Yeah, from this position. Yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah.
you
Like
know what I
raise it
mean?
up to
Yeah.
block the high shot.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
But because of that dagger movement from as the initiating action, it causes that sword to come back, which it shouldn't be. It should be just a small disengage underneath the dagger, step back, parry sword to sword, and then walk it
Yeah,
back in. It's the ideal because that cross parry is long to go to that
it
side,
is.
especially on
I think
matched sides.
I think Genshin's also looking to like fire with the sword. And so it has the dagger as like the primary defense here.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I think that is a fairly common thing that you see where folks get in the habit of, one implement his defense and one implement his offense,
Yeah.
which I think kind of caps your ability to be, I suppose, dynamic in the moment.
So another sword and dagger fight? Is that what we got here? Marcus, did you Marcus,
Yeah,
did you
there.
have this?
I'm not sure if it was recorded. There was a little bit of troubles with the finals in this tournament. So,
Oh,
um, yeah. So, and he would have gotten to choose again if he had lost.
okay.
So this looks like another bring your best. That's a good
Yeah.
pick. Good hand pick.
This it, Genshin asked for rapier dagger twice in a row, figuring it was his strong point.
Got it. Looks like they're both down a hand right now. Oh, nope, just kidding.
Yeah, Genshin lost leg. Looks like
Mhm.
you're lost offhand. Robert, you still fight them regularly at your practice?
Yeah, I fight both of these guys.
Um, when they start with that blade pointed straight up, you can basically uh, consistently force a reaction out of that hand because those knuckles are facing you and
Hmm.
just like
Yeah, that's
in fencing terms a huge target.
mhm. My go-to strategy with Yorander is because he likes to counterpunch,
Mm-hmm.
is to just throw a lot of bullshit at him until he bites on
Right,
something.
right. Until they the hard commit. Once they hard commit, they commit real
Yeah.
hard, which means
Yeah.
that you're pretty deep if you want to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a lot of respect for the uphill battle that Yorander fights to be as good at longsword as he is. Because like it's cool and all, but in the sport that we play, I think rapier dagger or rapiers in general do have
Yeah.
an advantage.
I don't know if you can kind of envision it, but their hand has a consistent drop pattern to the thrust with the longsword, and you can absolutely
Yeah,
just put your tip such that they punch your tip en route. There's nothing
you're
to
talking
stop
about
it.
that
This the longsword hand when they
yeah,
post and throw.
like here the way his hand rises.
Yeah, when it starts high, like tip high, and
Oops,
comes forward, it's a very consistent pathing.
like that.
You just have to get the trigger for them to throw for real, and then put your tip en route.
Yeah, makes sense. That's something that I've been like. It's been tough to work on is like trying to figure out how to predict my opponent's motion in that kind of way. Like I know they're gonna throw, so put my sword where their arm is gonna
Mm-hmm.
be.
Yeah. Well, you have to get you have to trigger it, right? Like you have to see what they're actually trying to do, both the defensive and offensive motions. So like if you can picture fighting against me, if you put your tip, don't overreach to try to touch my bicep or like elbow crook, which will get you punished. But if you just stop your tip basically sitting above my forearm, for me to thrust forward, I'm going to run into your tip. So that's like
Yeah.
a good hard counter to low shot, low guard players.
Mhm. Well, all right. So I think that's the last finals video I have. I think um, there were probably two more, but I don't have that unfortunately.
Was there a total of 3 different passes? It looks like there were 3 passes in total.
Yeah, it's
Marcus.
best 3 out of 5.
Okay.
Oh, so did they just fight three? Did you under a clean sweep
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm wondering as well.
at Marcus?
Yeah, that's what. So there was a refight there. So I think you're missing
Okay,
one of the videos, and that's why I was saying the refight. I think was with Sword and Dagger. I
Oh,
could
I
be
see.
wrong
gotcha.
on that, but I think we might be missing one of the fights there.
Okay, gotcha. Alrighty, well, no worries.
Uh,
Cool. Well, that's all the QRC videos I got.
yeah, that's cool. Chat, if you all have any questions for the folks here, please drop them in, and we're happy to respond to it. But is there other QRC footage that is from the pools? Maybe not on your channel. I assume.
Yeah, I don't
Assuming
have
it's
any. I don't know if other folks have posted.
yeah, I was like, it sounds like it was rainy on and off, so it makes it harder for folks to just
Mhm.
whip out their phone and catch a few passes.
Yeah, I
I do
think
have.
there's definitely other footage there because I know that, for example, Cyrus was taking a lot of videos when he wasn't fighting, I believe. So we just have to look for it.
Let me see if I can find any off quick.
So let's say if you
I
want to
do have some.
take a peek around,
Yeah.
we get to watch
I do
you
have
and
some
see how
footage
efficiently you
from.
search.
Grade me on my skills here.
Yeah, yeah. How well
Let's
do
see
you
what
internet?
QRC. I'm gonna just say that's totally not gonna work, actually.
I mean, that's an interesting question. It looks like it has nothing to do with what we do.
Yeah. See, we got lots of stuff from 8 years ago. I haven't used
16.
YouTube filters much. Can I do recent? This. I'm gonna say this week. Ooh, nothing. What is Cyrus's YouTube channel? It's like Gypsy something, Gypsy Tail Weaver. I don't know if he's posted his stuff.
We have a request from chat for Marcus versus Fruccio, the mirror match from last QC.
Ooh,
Chat, do you know where we would find said video?
I might have that.
Is that a
Let's take a
Robert
look.
thing?
That might be a Robert thing. Marcus versus Vertio. I've got Marcus and Vertio at Garnet and Steel. Who's the requester? Is that
Yeah,
yeah. Giovanni.
it was amusing. So for the two QRCs ago, and then Garnet and Steele, my student Ferruccio, had managed to knock me out. And then this last QRC, I knocked him out. So we've been going back and forth, which I'm kind of proud of.
Yeah, I think that's great.
That he's
Fruccio has
gotten
made a
that well.
huge amount of gains in the last few years. Just
Yeah, Ferruccio has popped off. Super
the
proud of him. He won the cadet tourney too. Last Pensick.
yeah, over Drew.
Yeah.
They get to I guess they get to battle it out again. I'm not sure how that works.
Well, he is a white scarf now, so
Okay, so cannot.
he can't participate. Yeah.
I didn't know
This is,
how that worked for Penzik's cadet because you can be a cadet and a white scarf.
So in Aethelmarc specifically, cadet is a student of a white scarf.
Oh, okay. It's like by general society norms, cadet is just a non-peer, like a non-mod.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
I think.
so not that I would know anything about this as the guy who's run the cadet tourney for multiple years. We continue to define cadet for the purposes of the Penzic tourney as a non-grant level fencer who is connected to a grant or peer level fencer.
Okay, so
And
non-grant is how the
connected
Penzic
to
works.
can be an official student or like a sponsor on the day, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Although this will be my last year running the cadet tourney, I'm handing it over to Niccolo next year.
Nice. Is he taking the novice tourney too?
No, that's going to be mine until I keel over dead on the field.
Hell yeah.
Niccolo as in Tiny Nick?
Master Niccolo of Aethelmarc.
Oh, Aethelmarc. Got it.
Yeah, he might be in this video somewhere.
Yep.
I don't see him on screen.
And to keep it as a multi-kingdom situation, which it has been from the start, it's going to be
No.
Niccolo and Don Sierran of the East. And Mistress Yin of the East.
She was in, or was she Bobby Tight's consort?
Yes, she was.
Okay, yeah, I thought I knew that name. One of the things I love watching Marcus and Ferruccio fight is it's so clear that they train together.
They know each other's playbooks.
Like practically a mirror matchup. Cool. After this, I have some footage from when I
This is the
visited
Garnet Steel.
Lockmere.
Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
Garnet Steel.
Marcus, is this the one that you knocked him out?
Nope, nope. He managed to get me on this one.
He got you. Okay. Oh yeah, I see the body shot there.
That was not a pass that I was very proud of that we're showing right now.
Hey Marcus, do you prefer? It looks like you don't fight for outside line or inside line in particular. Do you have a preference with your main blade, or do you?
I'm
do you want
sorry,
to
you
go with the?
dropped off there. Can you repeat that
Yeah, I was
question?
saying like, do you have a preference between outside and inside line from a lefty's perspective? Like, do you
Not
prefer to
really. I
be
mean, I like
outside
to go
in
back
or?
and forth.
Okay.
Uh, the longest time, I love the outside line, and I think people got used to that too much. So most of the time, it's I fight people often enough, and then they get good enough with it. Then I evolve whatever I'm doing to take advantage of that. And it's the standard thing where you're fighting people and you're just trying to level up with them and
Right,
make
for sure.
everyone just a little bit better.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
I fire.
I've noticed that there's a lot of folks when they fight mirror matched, they prefer to be outside, and so both people are like taking steps toward the swords. If that makes sense. Like in your case, you
Yeah,
have
that totally
somebody who
does. Yeah.
like you keep walking left, I keep walking right. We both just fight for the outside, so that we can use like uh, better biomechanics of attacking into the inside line.
hmm And then it's kind of funny with Master Poe there. There was a God corn maze a few years ago where we just kept hitting each other center chest, just trading back and forth because we kept going to that inside line,
Yeah.
and we just loved it so much.
Well, you would not let me drift left to control over your blade. If you would just cooperate, this would be fine.
Marcus, I feel like on the question of inside versus outside, I feel like maybe 2 or 3 years ago, you were a big fan of outside line, and then we kind of all the people you were training with adapted to it, and then you stopped doing it. And now it's sort of been like an arms race of what folks are used to.
Exactly. It's kind of funny. I tell people. So there was an interesting. Well, at practice on Thursday, we were doing judgy fencing, which is a lovely game that we like to do when it's raining. We've got a smaller area, and it's covered in a pavilion. So we'll have everybody at the practice sort of watch two fights going on 5 times or 5 passes, and then they'll discuss it. And somebody asked, I had a movement where I went to refused. For a second, and they asked, "Oh, I've never seen you do that." And I basically, have a rotation of shots that I've got, and I've got enough that I forget, and then I'll, 6 months later, I'll remember, oh, I like this one, and
Yeah,
so I'll
yeah.
do that for a while. But it's all, yeah, it's definitely an arms race.
One of the things with that last set with Fruccio, I noticed that you like pairing where you're pairing with the tip moving outward versus like a French parry where it's always tipped down center line and guard goes out. It's like a cutting into it.
Okay.
Is it this one? I don't remember which one it was.
This one, yeah.
I've had conversations with
Oh,
folks.
I think I got a link from Giovanni for the one he
Oh,
was
well
talking about.
done.
Oh yeah.
And for Garnet and Steel, like this is definitely what I think probably 6 months before the QRC where we're going to see the video. We've got that.
Yeah, we got a couple of links in chat.
Working on it here. Even time stamped it for me. Oh, and that's me and the marshal right there, getting in the way. Hell yeah.
The worst. Not the worst. You're doing your job.
I am doing my job.
Robert, did you see my cameras on a Marshall stick?
You're
If
Oh,
you,
that's smart.
if
So you
your
can
cam,
record
if you
and
can
watch it.
imagine that Marshall stick, I have a copy pasta of that Marshall stick, except on top there's a little attachment for a magnetic clip for a GoPro or a GoPro
That's
type thing.
That
brilliant.
is so nice. I like that,
And
Boomy.
I
Yeah.
I just hand them to Marshalls and like go nuts. Press once, it'll
Yeah,
record. If press again, it'll stop in 3 seconds.
that's cool. I should get some of those.
I just never now I don't have to worry about marshals being in the way if they're the ones just holding the staff and recording.
Right. Shout out to Marcus
Yeah, no,
finally defeating his cadet.
Yeah.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful
Good parry, good outs.
parry riposte. Yep.
Um,
Marcus, I feel like that crossbody is like your bread and butter.
it is one of my favorite movements. Now, interestingly, like at one of the not this last Adult Swim, but the one just after I got modded up. So I want to say January 24. Uh, I actually had a conversation with I think it was Tors,
mhm.
and he was like after he went 10 out of 10 with me, I was like, "Do you have any advice?" And
Yeah.
he's like, "Why do you have your?" I had my dagger at an angle, and he's like, "Why are you doing that?" I wanted to cheat it over for you, and he's like, "Don't do that. Keep it straight." And since then, that has been some really good advice, and really, I think, up my game a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was that last Adult Swim or the one before? Because Troy's wasn't at the last one.
You said 24, so yeah, the one before that.
Nice. I got a couple more videos I want to pull up. These are from my recent trip to Lockmere practice.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You took home the Sultan steel or some such, right?
That was
Sorry.
at Storvik the month before. I
Oh,
took a quick
is
quick trip
Lockyer
to
outside?
Lockmere.
I thought it was inside the elementary school.
It's at the same site, but I think in the summertime they're just under this pavilion.
Oh, okay. This is recent. I like it.
Yeah, this is just yeah, earlier this month.
And where is Lockmere located?
It's like DC Baltimore, somewhere between the two.
Yeah, on the northern side of the loop around DC.
Oh, this is the one where I missed getting to go with you. I'm
Mm-hmm.
bummed about that still.
We'll make it happen sometime. I want to get you out
Totally.
there. There's so many good fencers up there.
Why are you? Why is like? What's your thought about the high-low tip? Because you've done that. You went high and low 6, 7 times in the last 50 seconds.
I wish I had a great answer for you. It's the answer is it feels good.
Okay, that's fine.
I think
I was
so. I think
curious.
the shots that I'm looking for
Mhm.
are when I'm low, I can threaten the outside and the inside,
Mhm.
and when I'm
Yeah, yeah,
high,
correct.
I can more easily control the center. Um, but I don't ever do that, so I don't know. I don't know if it's even worth. It also threatens the dagger hand more having the
Well,
sword
you
up
threatened the in Brian's case because both of his implements are high. You're threatening the leg.
by having sword low.
Yeah, like you have
Yeah,
a straight line to his basically like the thigh right above the knee if you're being nice, or the foot.
yeah, sure. I remember in these fights, I was really watching his feet, trying to take advantage of measure.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Brian's pretty good about reading and not committing unless he believes he can get the kill.
Yeah.
Now, from your descriptions, Robert, of the difference in the sort of fencing culture of, say, DC area versus Aethelmarc, one of the things that you called out that was a little bit surprising was that there was a lot more forward movement and a little bit less counter punching. But here I'm seeing definitely a little bit slower type situation.
Yeah, Brian and I went back and forth a lot. There's a lot of, I think, reluctance from both of us to commit to anything.
Is this your first set of the night?
With Brian,
Yeah.
yeah, we just did one set.
This right now feels like the throwing out a couple of jabs and kind of getting to know each other. If that makes
I
sense.
think I think both of us were kind of like tense in this because we both really wanted to win.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, put on a good performance.
Yeah, yeah. Like Brian and I haven't fought a ton, and I had just the month before we had just met in the finals of the Salt and Steel or Salt. What is it, Salt and Steel? Is that
Salt and
right?
steel. Yeah.
That monthly tournament they do, and I
Yeah.
ended up taking. I think it was 2-1, which I was surprised. I didn't expect to win that, and so I think he wanted to get me back, and
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like,
for
oh shit,
sure.
maybe I can do this.
Yeah. I mean, I would
Yeah,
too if I were in that case.
it was a really awesome, like, intense fight.
You've gotten so much better about not leaning your upper body off your base.
Hmm.
It's just a whole lot tighter.
It feels better in my body too.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, for
leaning
sure.
forward would
Yeah.
aggravate my lower back.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. There's less stress in your core to have to pick up your person from weird bends. Chat. One of the things I really like about what Brian is doing here is they're keeping their gait a little closer just all the time. This whole fight, not quite as long.
Like
It's
smaller
like,
steps.
yep. Well, what it means is right. If your back foot is brought up a little closer, it gives you more potential to explode forward.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's a useful tool that's ultimately underutilized in fencing.
Yeah, something I've heard, I think pretty much only you talk about is like varying the length of your steps and your stance.
Mm-hmm. I can't tell you how many people have predictable steps. That's the
Yeah.
majority of fencers have a predictable for like an advance and a retreat.
Well, I think that's how so many people train is like making that consistent.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a terrible idea. Anything that's is predictable is exploitable. Don't care how good the
Yeah.
movement is. If someone else can rely on you doing it, that's the problem.
Right. Yeah.
So your
So at
job is to be dynamic.
practices, Boomy, at practices, are
Mhm.
you practicing the varying movements so
For
that you're
sure.
doing that without really thinking? Okay,
I do it.
that's a good idea.
I do it without thinking at this point, but I absolutely make it part of the training regimen for folks who are wanting to learn how to be tighter and more, I suppose, more exploit their ability to use measure. Like for instance, just teaching people like their forward step, like the entry step, while keeping your guard in place, and then how to then change your gait on the step after that to create offensive opportunity.
I think we end up chatting here a lot. I tried to do
Yeah, I was wondering what happened in that exchange. It moved too fast.
I tried to like dominate his outside line with like you can see I take a cross step here. I'm trying to like muscle my way through, kind of like I did to you. Do you remember last time we fought? I did
Yeah,
one of those lefty.
yeah,
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 I'm
yeah,
trying to do something kind of similar here, and it just like absolutely did not work. And so I was like, Brian, what the fuck just happened?
yeah. They
Um,
if you watch it, if you watch their hips, they rotate their hips to the right while keeping the sword in
mhm.
line, which pushes you offline. You see that? They
Yeah,
attach it a little bit more to their body and then rotate. So there's a lot
yeah.
more power coming through. It's not just arm.
Brian was saying also that with the way that their body mechanics work, they can't do like a typical like outside second parry.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
I think what's happening here is Brian's like closer to third, like almost in fourth, hitting me false edge, maybe with the flat. Yeah, I think it is the hips that you're talking about. That's interesting.
Yeah. You see how like they're still 90 degrees with the elbow, and it's a rotation of
Hmm.
the hips, and that drives a whole lot more power through your sword.
How did Brian read that?
They probably go maybe 15 degrees after you try. Like you start to, yeah, right there. That's like a 15-degree rotation out of their hips to push you offline.
Now, do you think that's a fast reaction, or do you think that's a prediction?
I actually think it has mostly to do with in this particular case, they've done it a million times, right? Like
Yeah.
it's a lizard brain reaction. But I
Hmm.
also think that because of their injury history, they tend to not have as much wrist movement or mobility,
Hmm.
and so they've learned to attach. Like Brian in particular has learned to attach the motion to their body way more.
Gotcha. Like combine that particular parry with that hip
Correct.
rotation.
Yeah.
in footage of myself recently, I definitely have seen myself shifting between that, like basically the guards that you and John do, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
I do a little bit more sword presented than John does,
Yeah, yeah.
but that like
In
sword mostly refused, either high or low.
in your particular case, I would think about a little bit more on your intention for the high-low tip.
Hmm.
To not, because otherwise, if you do it kind of passively, you're giving a pattern. If that makes sense,
Yeah,
like you're giving something for someone else to abuse. But if you do it with intention, you're eliciting reactions, or you're creating a pattern that you are intending to break or abuse in some way. That's a much better use. Don't let it be like, because if it's comfortable, but you're not like actively choosing to do it, I think it becomes readable for somebody else.
right. Yeah, that makes sense.
I think I would, like looking at you move. I would try to gravity beat to your blade from on top as you're coming up,
As I'm moving,
and just
yeah,
go
as
straight
I'm
down the
coming up,
center. In my like just watching it.
yeah.
That's what I want to do. Execution is always in the
Yep,
moment,
yep, yep.
but
What so you're saying being more intentional with those? Do you mean like choosing to do it to create different openings
yeah, yeah.
and
You
that
can
kind of thing?
do your
Yeah.
pattern. Like you can create a pattern that you want other people to read, but you want to do it in a way that you want them to try to exploit it because you are ready with a counter. As
Yeah.
opposed to any pattern that is subconscious, I think tends to be potentially a readable pattern for somebody else.
Yeah, potentially exploitable. Yeah.
And thus exploitable. Yeah, yeah. I am under the full belief of any pattern. Doesn't matter how good the action is in a vacuum. Anything that's
Mhm.
predictable is exploitable. And so, as fencers, we have to be essentially as dynamic as possible.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we all have patterns. Like there's no way to avoid them. But if I try to create a sequence that's like 12 iterations long, it's a lot easier to hide my intention in the course of
Yeah.
those 12 iterations as opposed to a 3 iteration repeated pattern.
Hmm.
Also, I don't know if y'all think in the same way, Marcus and Poe, like breaking patterns, forming
Yeah,
patterns.
I'm watching Robert there and just comparing it because we just got together on Thursday, and one of the interesting things we had is we both have somewhat similar where we've got the sword hand a little bit further back. He tends to point down with his tip a lot, and I tend to have it more pointed up toward my opponent. And
Hmm.
I'm seeing you move back and forth there, Robert, and I think I'd
Yeah.
like to see a little bit more. I mean, yeah, it's fun, and like I'll do something similar with my dagger where I'll like sort of flick it at my opponent and be like, "Hey, I've got a dagger." But I'd like to see a little bit more intentionality in what you're doing, why you're moving up and down with that sword tip.
Yeah, I'll have to play around with that. It absolutely is just vibes at the moment.
Hmm.
I
Honestly,
have
vibes carry a long
seen
way.
this. I've seen the sword tip drop deliberately with other fencers as an invitation, trying to lure somebody in. But every time you do it, uh, it doesn't come in reading as an intention.
Yeah, I think it's just me transitioning between two guards that I'm like I've worked on both of those guards and I'm comfortable with both of them. And I don't like Yalhoval said, like there's no particular intention behind it. It's just that kind of passive processing.
And that last pass, he managed to catch you during the transition, and that's when he jumped out. He jumped out at you.
Mm.
Did you
Yeah,
catch?
you're
Did you,
transitioning definitely in measure.
did you catch
Yeah,
him on the kill as well in the last one? It looks like you
I'm
touched
not.
neck, maybe.
Yeah, so I'm in here. Yeah, so he fires on my shot.
Yeah, for sure. So
Yeah,
right
I
here, I can't tell what
think.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see a sword bend here. I think I hit him in the body or the armpit or something. My sword bends so much. It could have just been cloth, but from what I
Yeah, I
can see,
see
it
the
looks
bend
like a
coming
chest trap.
down for sure. I thought it was like neck or upper chest kind of area.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
It's a
think
little
you're
hard to
right.
tell with the lighting and the swords disappearing in the
Yeah,
fray, but
100%. Yeah, somewhere
it
between
looks like they
armpit,
catch you as
chest,
well.
neck.
Something similar, like positioning
I think
similar
so.
neck or chest, low
Yeah,
neck, upper chest.
I can't really track Brian's blade here
Yeah,
with
there's
the
a
lighting.
frame where it appears like right here. It looks like it's touching chest, but it's hard to tell. There's no
Yeah,
dimple on
I.
yours. Yeah, like right there. It looks like it's touching kind of the very
Oh
bottom of the
yeah.
black before it transitions to silver. Whether it got forward, I don't know. It's hard. It's really hard to tell.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I would guess this is a double kill,
That's what it looks
just
like.
based on my body language.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. All right, I got one more video for y'all.
All
This
Awesome.
right, and
is
I did a little bit of searching through that our most recent QRC before this last one, and Poe, I've got some video of you and Martinson if you'd like to review that.
Let's do it. Drop the link. I'm in.
hell yeah, yeah. Send it to me. I'll
Oh, it's you and
bring it up next.
Alessandro. So
Yeah, yeah,
good.
yeah. He gave me the hardest freaking fights. I was
yeah,
so not prepared for this set.
yeah. He's got that
Like,
same jump lunge explosive style, um, but does it from kind of a refused Ancien A frame,
mm-hmm.
as opposed to like what I prefer that low guard. But he does that same,
Yeah.
and he's really good at finding the angle on your hand, like
Huh.
around the sail guard. It's kind of annoying.
Yeah, he and I think the last time we fought before this was Adult Swim a year and a half prior. And I felt like I did pretty well. Like we were definitely toe to toe, but I did well.
hmm
And I expected to have the edge here, and I don't think I did. I think he took like 60-40 here.
Okay.
I'm not sure who landed this shot. Looks like he just punked me in the chest.
Oh, not quite. Not on that. Not
Not
on those
quite, not in
frames.
range. Okay. Okay. Looks like I got
You got the
the
riposte.
chest there.
Yeah, chest on the riposte.
Oops.
Oh
Not
no.
quite. No, that one didn't land.
Yeah.
He sent it though. Do you? Is our foot shots more common on Stira? Do you think?
I think the way they're thrown is more common, right? The
Mm-hmm.
pump to the low shoulder
Mm-hmm.
compared to like Atlantean. There used to be a trend of like throw center line, let your blade fall into the
Yeah.
like thigh. That was a very common trend for a while. And I like my version, which is from low guard. I'm just doing a jump lunge and touching thigh. That seems
Mm-hmm.
to yield the best results for me. I'm not nearly as close to the feet as John.
Yeah, I'd say in Aethelmarc, foot shots are not as popular.
We don't do
Legs
them
and
at
stuff,
all.
but foot shots, unless you're talking about Robert the Green there.
Oh yeah, he does like the. That's right. He's been coming to practices lately. It's been cool.
I
It is so easy just to fake him out and offer him the toe and hit him in the head when he wants to capitalize on it.
How very German of you.
I think the for me low line shots like leg, toe, whatever is really just adding more to someone else's mental stack. Like whether I take it or not, I try to throw one that's very safe, both the timing and the actual action. Because if nothing
Yeah, it's
else, now someone else they have to worry about, oh, maybe they go low, and I have to think about it, or they have to think about it.
Yeah, I like the way you put that, the overloading of the mental tack, because just adding to it is so nice when you're in tournaments and things like that. Just because there's one more thing they've got to think about, and
Absolutely.
you're renting space in their head during the
Exactly.
tournament.
It's the same mental tax that happens when you put somebody within a foot, like one step of the edge of the list. Like I don't need to push them into the list. I just want them to know it's behind them, and that alone is going to cause them to want to press forward with something desperate, not a kind of a thought out action. Yeah, chat. The more you can overwhelm someone's mental stack, the slower they are to respond to any action. It's similar to why when you have a guard, I generally recommend passively covering as much as you can. Don't put your dagger in between two things to cover. Put your dagger such that you're covering one line and another, so that your choices become lessened. So you have less mental stack to deal with.
And speaking of at the edge of the list there, that's kind of interesting. One of the things that I love to, preach be a coward. And so I'll move away from my opponents and things along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
But I will also, during tournaments, allow myself to get backed into just at the edge of the list rope because that's going to change how I'm going to move. And the opponents aren't, and typically, if they know me very well, they're like, oh, yeah, he's going to keep running away. So it changes how they view what I'm going to do because I can't go back, so I won't.
Right. To me, I think of having, and this is for chat. I think of having space as having time. Like I have more time to make a mistake to allow them to steal a little bit more ground when I have more space behind me, which means at every opportunity I'm going to advance forward to eat up space. Especially on a tighter list when you may only have 2 to 3 steps in either direction.
Yeah, there were some complaint. Well, there was some light joking with me about the list being so small at this most recent QRC,
Yeah,
and me
those things.
putting the such a thing for or the cards for the double kill because when you're that close, it felt like it would happen more often. So
Right. That's
Kudos
even more
to
important
everyone
to be judicious with your space.
who. Yeah, Marcus, you said you only had one double kill in the round robins?
there were more double kills, but it was, or I mean, more than one, but definitely, I would say for a standard QRC, I'd say at least 50% less double kills.
Okay.
Yeah, now that's your opponent here is definitely going for that foot shot a lot.
hmm We were both going so hard.
Yeah, for sure. Alessandro moves really well considering.
Yeah. I I feel like even with the folks who will say like, "Oh, I'm not that athletic," oh, whatever. Like the people who are good fencers, it doesn't matter. Like athleticism is so sport specific, I feel like,
Yes,
that
correct. Yeah.
even the people that are like, "Oh, I'm a middle-aged man, don't look at me." If they're good at fencing, they're good at fencing.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
Ouch. Stop that.
He
Looking at you,
paused.
Poe.
He gave you a full-on frame to react.
Where's that?
Yeah, this last pass here was nice.
I think his dagger comes in just short.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you did a great parry to the outside.
Yeah.
The fact that you head forward on that riposte is honestly pretty impressive. That's hard to get on that angle.
That cut.
Yeah.
I do love the look of defeat there at the end.
Yeah.
I definitely was able to portray
Regardless of
that.
whether you killed him, you did beat him. You can see in the body language.
Yeah.
That's what happens when the commit doesn't.
Yeah. Boomy, ever since you punked me in the face with your dagger like 6 times at Adult Swim, I've gotten way better at not face planting on people's daggers.
Good. Hopefully you're keeping that mid measure and
Yeah.
using your blade, which is your strongest suit. At least in important contexts.
Yeah.
Nice set. That was a pretty set.
Yeah. It was a blast.
I am very impressed by how well Jay is still. I remember when I first started, like one of my first rupees, when I saw this person, when I watched Alessandro in the field, I was like, I can't touch this person. I just can't do anything. I feel
Yeah.
purely helpless as a relatively new fighter.
How long ago was that? Like 10 years? More?
Yeah, I think I went to my first fencing event maybe 10, 11 years ago now.
Wild.
been on a hell of a ride
That he's
since
been
then.
that good for that long.
He's been that good for that long, for sure. Like it's
Uh-huh.
still that good. I think he might disagree and like from internally, be like, I fell off for some amount of like decline, but from the
Yeah.
outside in, it is not obvious.
So now this is Master Poe and Master Jacob Martinson.
Nice.
Oh no.
What kind of helmet is that, Poe? Is
I
that
always describe it as Tolkien's elves do an Art Deco motorcycle helmet.
okay?
It's got a Celtic nasal, but other than that, it's just this, very streamlined, you know, not quite bassinet.
Did Terry make it?
No, I was lucky enough to acquire it off of eBay. Belrix of Blue Rose built it in 97. It was intended to be a heavy helm. The day before he put the grill on it, they changed the metal requirements
Oh, the
because it's
gauge. Yeah,
only
yeah. Okay.
18 gauge.
Yeah, yeah.
It's spent a decade in a closet till one of his squires said, you could put fencing perf steel in it, and they did that and put it on eBay. I acquired it.
That's cool. Chat's asking Robert, are you going to Penzic?
Am I going to Penzic? Hell yeah, I am.
Nice.
Forever and always.
Good. I'm the same way. I'm sold.
Is this? I'm watching Jake here, and it looks like Elena to me.
Yeah.
He's going, if I recall correctly, he's going over to the corner to have a intimate moment with his wife, who wanted to kiss him goodbye before he gets slain. And then I don't think he gets slain. I forget. I think we double once or twice. I forget the exact.
Wait, are you sure this isn't Elena?
I'm thinking it might be Elena. I could
I
have
think
been wrong.
it's
I know that
Elena.
Jacob was there too, and I don't recall that cloak. So I'm thinking, yeah, the hopping up and down and giving you the hug seemed more Elena style.
Yeah.
You're right. No, you're right. That was Elena. And she went over to the side for her gentleman, and then
Yes.
I put a tip across her mask.
How uncouth.
Well, she led with her face.
Who is Sable Spirit in the chat here? Do I know this person? Oh, it's Maggie. Yeah, I'll be
Yep.
there. If all goes according to plan, I'll be there for all of Pensic.
Yeah. I always do 2 weeks. But this year I was asked to be on staff, so I'll probably be there like closer to 3 weeks.
Oh, cool. What are you
Whenever
doing for
y'all,
staff?
I'm sorry.
What are you doing for staff?
A tent setup for other
Gotcha.
staffers.
Awesome.
No.
What? So are you gonna set up your tent before Pensic starts?
No, because I'm not allowed to. If you're
Mm.
like a normal camper, you're not supposed to do your full setup until. But you can set up the tents for staffers, essentially.
Okay.
Depending on the
So you're
staffing
gonna
position. But I'm just gonna hang out,
Nice.
do some work, get fed.
That was a nice shot
That
there.
was very
Poe.
pretty.
Bam. Beautiful, clear, clean.
Yep. They didn't step
That's
back.
something. Yeah. Looks like. Yeah. Let me watch it.
She gave me the engagement.
Yeah, she's stepping forward and then
Yeah,
she
they
fired.
stepped
Nice.
forward. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were attacked on the
There's
cross step.
there's just enough engagement on the dagger. I was able to delay her and then land it, bend it, bow.
This guy that's fighting Elena now, the one on the right with the blue. This is Niccolo, who's running. You said he's running the cadet tourney.
Niccolo is taking over the cadet tourney with Don Sierran and Master Yin. Yes,
Cool.
I
Very
will
cool.
continue to be the novice tourney. I will continue to be begging people for prizes. As always, we want to have a prize for every novice that takes the field.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I love that. Speaking of the novice tourney and that shot that you just landed on Elena, one of the things that I have been starting to work with my novices on is like in the novice tourney, I feel like it's especially important to land shots clearly because you got people who might not be familiar with like self calling as much because they're newer.
Plus, every single kingdom has its own set of rules, and so you never know if the person you're facing is a tip cut only kingdom or a push
Yeah,
cuts don't land. And
Yep. Teaching people some good comms.
communication, yeah, communication is key.
That really is.
yep.
I think that's part of the overall SCA journey, right? When you're talking about having people become ultimately like the path toward peerage, those are the things you're learning.
Yeah.
Or
Like
pick
how to
up
be
on.
in the community.
Yeah, exactly. How to like
Mhm.
communicate well and understand how to have grace and kind of control the like not just pursue the martial, but tempered by caring for the community at large.
Hmm. Yeah, 100% with you on that.
Soldier, scholar, courtier.
I honestly have found that blow calling it really is its own separate skill set, completely departed from the fight part, and then
The
comms
magic
marathon.
in oh, go on.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was about to say the magic incantation we like to teach the novices at my end of the kingdom is Lord or Lady Marshal, what did you see? We are not an active marshaling kingdom, so the marshals are supposed to be watching and able to give an opinion if asked, but allow the combatants to settle it themselves. But you always have the option to turn around and say, Lord or Lady Marshal, what did you see?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was just talking with Faye about that today. If that like at any point, if you're getting frustrated, you feel like the person's not taking shots, that's when you pause, ask the marshal.
Exactly. And as a marshal, the secret incantation is, are you sure you're happy with that bout? Which, of course, the subtext is, please ask me.
Yeah, that's funny.
I'm such a big fan, and this is for all the chat. As you are growing as a fighter, um, from the perspective of someone who feels like their shots aren't being taken, which may actually be happening in a particular context. The thing to focus on is nothing to do with the opponent. It has everything to do with can you be good enough to do it again and again.
Hmm.
And if you have that as kind of your guiding star, you don't really worry too much. Like it doesn't sting as much as like, oh, I got him clean. Why didn't they take it? And it's more like, okay, I'm gonna hit him again. I'm gonna get him again. And the whole time I'm gonna defend myself against the riposte, against the afterblow, whatever. Make it super clean and super obvious from your end.
I can hear my wife laughing from the other room because we literally just had the same conversation like 3 hours
Oh yeah,
ago.
yeah. That's the. I mean, that's the honest truth. Like, if you focus too
Yeah,
much on what you can't control, it becomes ultimately futile and
yeah,
frustrating.
yeah,
What you can't
100%.
control is your actions and your behaviors. And if you focus on the correct things, I think that it leads to a much more satisfying journey with less
Yeah, I think
frustration.
I think a lot of folks like it's easy to get, butthurt when someone's not taking your shots. Like it feels like they're cheating.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, um, anything else we want to watch?
I think that's all I got.
Cool. Have fun playing games,
Yeah, I
Maggie.
think this has been helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Thanks
appreciate you
for
all hanging out, watching some footage. In the future, if anyone has anything they want to watch or bring up or talk about, I'm generally down to talk fighting. Enjoy
hell
it
yeah.
all the time.
Yeah, thanks for hosting,
That's
Jamie.
awesome. And I do think everybody on the at least on the chatty part of the stream here is going to be at Penzig. So well, we're definitely looking forward to having some fun with folks, meeting out of Kingdom, and just getting to know people. And I think that's part of the joy of Penzig is going out to the field and saying, "Hey, what's your name?
Oh, for
We should try
sure.
to stab each other."
Yep, yep.
Yep.
More and more, there are efforts to make Peace Week kind of pick up friendly and
Yeah.
let people know about it. And I really enjoy those efforts. Just to, just chill up by the field. Everyone's pulling up a chair, hanging out, getting to know each other. Bring folks who aren't as familiar with the folks who are there, like bring them into the fold.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I'll try to make it out for some of the. Do you know when the field opens? Is it Wednesday?
I think. Well, yes, Wednesday, because they do the Wednesday. It's definitely open. It really depends on Rapier One.
Okay.
They do. I know Thursday is the early bird one, and then
Right.
poker maybe on Thursday or Friday. I don't remember.
I believe poker is on Friday.
Friday.
Early bird is on Thursday.
Wednesday there was an etude or some such that was happening.
There is also a stab and gab that I definitely want to try to make it. I think that's a really useful thing, especially because we're going to get, out of kingdom folks working with out of kingdom folks. So it'll be interesting to see the different cultures as people are talking about things. But I think it all translates to, we're trying to take this piece of metal and put it in a specific position. So
Yeah.
I got to do the Stab and Gab last year, and it was definitely really cool mingling with all the folks from
Stab
different
and
kingdoms.
gab. That sounds newer.
Yeah,
I've
it's
not-
last 2 years, I think.
okay.
This will be the second year. It's Doña Colfina running it. It's basically a whole bunch of pickups, but it's a loose sort of. Everybody is given a token. The grants get to give their token to a non-granted fencer. The non-grants get to give their tokens to the grants. So we basically see which grant level and which non-grant level fencer manages to acquire the most goodwill, what have you, tokens. And there's just a lot of wonderful conversation. Last year, Colfina was Cadet Colfina, so she fought on the non-grant side when she wasn't marshaling. Since then, now she is Doña Colfina. She'll be fighting for the other side.
Cool. That's exciting.
And that, I think, is Saturday afternoon.
Okay.
Middle
I was
Saturday.
about to ask. Saturday afternoon. Cool. Yeah, I'm down. I often just show up at the field, and the problem is I have to split my time between the fields because I want to do both.
Yeah.
I want to show up and do pickups until people are done.
Hell yeah.
Well, I'll be out there doing pickups. You can't miss me in the big silver helm.
Yeah, I got a much better opportunity to observe the helms. I won't miss it. For sure. Chat saying, hope to video of MCA Meridians. Yeah, that's the big one in Meridian. I look forward to the footage. Y'all have any other anything else to shout out or anything else to talk about? Giving people the last opportunity.
there is an excellent event in Aethelmarc that our own Don Robert will be getting made, and also has excellent fencing. So that is, I think, July 13th.
Exciting.
So if you're able to make it up here, that is definitely one I'd say you'll want to see, because fencing will be great, and you'll get to see a great man become part of
a worthy
the
elevation.
Aw, thanks.
I'm excited on your behalf.
I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you all for hanging out this evening. I look forward to doing more footage review in the hopefully sooner than later, nearer future than not. Otherwise, chat, thank you for hanging out. I will hopefully put out more streams in higher frequencies in the upcoming months. Have had a few busy months over the last many weeks. So, anyways, I hope everyone has a wonderful evening, and we will talk to you later. Good night, chat. Goodbye.